that she can get you the very latest about where exactly this happened. We also have our Tracy Humphrey, who's in the building working on some elements to show you exactly what happened. And I'm understanding that we have some video. Is that correct? Let's take that video to show folks what
these videos came through on my Facebook. Several of you, I apologize not putting your names on here, but you sent these videos of some minor shaking happening in your home. You see the cups right there. They're kind of rattling against each other. And then this is a chandelier, it looks like, in someone's living room, possibly. That's definitely moving as well. We were mentioning the West Sacramento video from the City Hall there. Same thing. We were seeing some minor shaking of the shades there inside of a building area. And so these videos show what many of us experience, just that unsettling, wait, are we having an earthquake? That's what everyone here was asking. And a lot of you are feeling different scales of this, from moderate to light. Some people are saying they felt severe shaking, and that is closer to the Stockton area because we know Farmington is only a few miles away from the Stockton area. We do have a reporter heading that direction, so we've been making phone calls to businesses in Farmington, double checking they're okay. We haven't heard of any damage to buildings or to roads as of right now. Things may change. Cal OES is looking at the very latest. We also know local officials and police are definitely responding to this too.
One thing I want to stress is we've got another video. Apparently, this is folks leaving their office today, being told to evacuate after the earthquake. Can you tell me where this is coming in from? Are we clear on that? But this is video, new video coming in, even as we speak, of folks leaving their office today as that quake happened, being told, hey, it may be better to just leave the building, giving the shaking that people were experiencing. One of the things that we want to stress is we've got to make sure that we're staying in contact with Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods because she's also getting new updates. So let's get you over to Monica. What are you seeing, Monica?
Just looking at all of the earthquakes throughout the region. So I have this map up here where you can see in the Farmington area, we still have that 4.8 up there. However, the USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, has removed that. And then towards Yosemite, also looking at a few smaller earthquakes. Those are in the range, I think I just saw 1.8. Now, those actually occurred right about the same time as well. So we had this smaller one, 1.8 at 4:06, a larger one just before that at 3:50. 3:50 is when everything was happening here. That was a 4.8. Again, just off to the east of Yosemite. So I'm going to take those off because, of course, we've been tracking this much larger one, which was a 4.2. But we had an earlier one that was the 5.9. That was at 3:49. And still have up on our map the 4.8 at 3:50, still trying to determine whether that indeed was an actual earthquake or not, because the USGS has removed that. But I also want to bring in my colleague, if we can go back to the wall, my colleague Tracy Humphrey. Yes. You've been tracking a lot of information online and trying to dig in a little bit deeper into some of the effects that we've been seeing as well. So
hey, thank you, Monica. You know, the first thing I did is I hit Twitter because everything is on Twitter. So when you talked about the road closure, there is a road closure on 395. It says that it is closed from the junction of 182 in Mono County to the Nevada state line. And it is due to the rock slide that you were talking about.
Right. Okay.
So they do have a detour available for that one. But I think the biggest thing that we notice is that the 4.8 is what they're calling a false positive.
This one right here.
Yes. So apparently this one was so strong that people actually thought, or the monitoring system thought, that was a separate quake. But it is not. So the USGS has removed the 4.8, and the only one they're contending with is the 5.9, the big one.
And so Tracy mentioned something that's really important to know, too. We have multiple monitoring stations. That was put in by the MyShake app. It is now expanded all throughout the West Coast, Washington, the most recent to come online there. And so what's happening is, like you said, multiple monitoring stations. One that's so strong can then ripple into a false positive.
The big thing, though, is it was so strong, the ripple, that it actually thought it was a second quake. So I know we all know about earthquakes here, but that's pretty significant. And when we were in the newsroom, I felt, did you feel the undulating? It almost felt like.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a little ebb and a little flow. So I'm going to be monitoring Twitter, looking at all the updates. I think everyone is realizing that this is a different event. This is a different occasion.
Okay, one thing that I think folks want to know too, and you either know this right now or you're going to dig into it, I know.
Yes.
This cluster right here, assuming they're all associated with maybe the same type of earthquake.
I agree. I think so. But of course, that's just because that one started and then all the rippling came after it.
Right.
This one, again, an anomaly.
Good point.
But I think the point is going to be how many more quakes are we expecting to see here? We know that sometimes they extend for days. I think we're going to have to watch and see what happens in the Sierra. And the Sierra has been very busy as of late. So the fact that they're
You're
all
right.
kind of, yeah.
We had a couple just about a week ago or so over towards Napa. And
So
remember,
it's
it was
been busy.
just about 5-6 years ago, I think, if my timeline's right, that we had that big one in Napa. It took a year to recover from that. Still a lot of people just trying to recover. But one thing, too, is that how many of these are going to be false positives that were due to that larger
That's
one?
a really good question, because when you go to the USGS site, you see what, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are multiple different ones spanning from that one. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out. Was it actual separate quake, or was it just something that was part of the initial ripple?
And you made a good point in the beginning, too. The big one was the first one.
It was
And
the first
all
one.
the timelines after that, the smaller ones.
So we're going to have to check on that one. And the fact that they do have a rock slide, I think that speaks volumes with just how huge of an impact this was. So again, that road closure that we have is all
On
the way back to
395 and State Road 89 is what we're
Correct.
hearing. And on 1.2, don't get too overly concerned about the magnitude of the quake, because it depends on what type of quake. And that will determine the damage. So a smaller quake with a different type of formation may have bigger damage than a bigger quake with a different type of formation. So we'll toss it back to you guys for right now.
That is good information there.